Before we get to the highlights of this video, let's check out some new games. I recently played the Forgive Me Father 2 demo, an old school horror shooter with a gritty comic book look filled with Lovecraftian horrors. After trying out the first 2 levels, I have to say this looks like more of the same and I'm absolutely down for it. I did love the first game. Especially the gunplay seems to have gotten an upgrade in part 2. The revolver feels super powerful and has way more impact to it. I wish it kept the upgrade system from part 1, but overall it's a simple fast-paced action game and you should be definitely asking for forgiveness if you pass this one up. And now, as always, we are kicking off this list with your recommendations. Starting with Lester Bronson and Ad Infinitum, this creepy World War I walking sim did catch my eye with some amazing enemy design, and I'm really looking forward to giving this game a try around Halloween. The next recommendation comes from Tumo Fichi with Sword of the Vagrant, and to my surprise, this game costs around $1 on Steam right now. So I did put my YouTube money to good use and jumped straight into it. And what should I say? It's a 2D brawler with an interesting story and a well-equipped main character. I'm not too deep into it right now, but the hand-drawn art style is fantastic and it plays very well. Guess you'll see me talking about this game in the future.
Hey you guys, how are you doing? Lately there seems to be an endless number of great games coming out. So it's no wonder that some of these gems are completely overlooked. So today we are going to change that. And you know the drill. Grab yourself some pizza, kick back and make yourself comfortable, and let's get the kick out of gaming.
So let's kick off this list with an easy one. A recently released game that I really enjoyed, Payday 3. Payday 3 is an action-packed 4-player co-op shooter that once again, or for the first time, gives us the chance to pull off heists. If you ever fantasized about robbing banks with your dudes, Payday 3 is here to make your wildest dreams come true. Virtually, of course. But Payday 3 is more than just a clown robbery game. The heists are well designed and the gameplay and the gunplay is very satisfying. Right now there are 8 well-designed levels that are really fun to explore, be stealthy like a ninja or going guns blazing, or a mix of both. And spoiler alert, stealth rarely goes as planned and you end up shooting your way out. And the lesson we can learn from that is no matter how good your heist plan is, something always goes south, and Payday 3 has some flaws too. I think the biggest failure here is that there is no solo or story mode. Honestly, telling an engaging story about a crew of misfits has so much freaking potential for plot twists and character development. Sadly, the plot is thinner than a single sheet of toilet paper. To sum things up, this is an awesome game if you play it with your friends, but there is room for improvement. Like every heist, it's not perfect, but there is a lot to like here, and as a co-op game it's an absolute blast if you play it with friends. Just wait a few months until the mandatory updates are online. Next up we have Vengeful Guardian Moonrider. This is a 2D action platformer that got through my vibe check with ease. Not only do I love cyborg ninjas, the whole 2D dark sci-fi future world is absolutely amazing. We play as the Moonrider, a cyborg ninja that turned against its creator and chooses to fight for the greater good. After we are breaking out of our containment container, we slash the first goons bloody fast and we are off to take down our former comrades to make the world a better place. After making our way through the opening level, we have the choice of 6 additional stages to tackle in whichever order we see fit. Each stage has its own boss and beating each of these will grant you a new ability. I also appreciate the little bits of personality injected into every boss before beginning the fight. For a 2D retro game, the story is pretty interesting. Vengeful Guardian Moonrider not only feels retro in art style and soundtrack design, but it's also pretty challenging at frequent intervals. That said, it never feels unfair and the level of challenge is wholly reliant on your ability to master the Moonrider skills. And here is a pro tip: don't overdo the running slash attack, it takes way too much time to recover from that. But overall, Vengeful Guardian Moonrider is an absolute retro blast with fluid combat, plenty of variety in the levels and enemy design. The game's length is a bit short, but for those who are looking for a 2D action title, this is an absolute no-brainer. Bomb Rush Cyberfunk is next on this list. In this action-packed skating game, we play as a young graffiti artist who is a bit headless after breaking out of prison. After some cybernetic upgrades, we are back on track and have to take on the evil DJ overlord of this town, skating on walls, dodging cops and spray painting the levels in the process. Once we master boosting and learn how to perform some additional tricks, the cyberpunk city New Amsterdam becomes our playground for jumps, grinds and balancing acts that defy gravity. Next to our rocket-powered rollerblades, we get to ride bicycles and skateboards too. And thanks to the trick system, we can endlessly grind every inch of the city that feels like an oversized skater park. The simple controls are feeling super smooth and the whole map is fun to explore with tons of hidden stuff to discover. Add to that Bomb Rush Cyberfunk has an excellent soundtrack filled with hip hop and dance songs that fit the on-screen action perfectly. I cannot tell you how much I wanted to feel this low poly retro spirit again. I ate it up as a whole, and even though there is nothing revolutionary, I wholeheartedly can recommend this game, because it's simply a good time. Bomb Rush Cyberfunk kept me grinding for hours on end, and I'm glad that we are seeing arcade skating games making a return with a new paint. The next game is Gal Guardian's Demon Purge. Gal Guardians is a game that is both hilarious and frustrating at the same time. We play as two high school girls, but these aren't just any high school girls, they are demon fighting high school girls. When our school gets turned into a demonic castle, we must work together to defeat the otherworldly invasion. This goes into the gameplay as well. We can switch between those girls at the press of a button. One shoots bullets while the other slashes those demon goons into pieces. Both have some unique gameplay mechanics too. As you might have already seen, the gameplay is heavily inspired by an old school 2D side-scroller about gothic castles and vampires. In contrast to its original, Gal Guardians is full of hilarious moments, from over-the-top action sequences to ridiculous dialogue. The characters are all well developed and the villains get some time to shine too. And you will need these moments to lighten up, because this game is freaking challenging at times. The bosses are very strong and we must use all our skills to defeat them. On top of that, it's a 10+ hour game, so you better come prepared to get good. Overall, Gal Guardian's Demon Purge is a great game. It's funny, challenging and full of anime girls. If you're looking for a casual game, then look elsewhere. However, if you're looking for an old school challenge, then sink your teeth into it. EX Troopers finally made it to the West. Kind of. Earlier this year, a well done English translation for EX Troopers released. In this spin-off of the Lost Planet games, we play as Bran, a high schooler on the Navik Academy. We take on various quests and missions, and not only do we have important events in school and our personal life to deal with, but we have to fight off interstellar alien bugs and space marines too, by collecting items and money to buy new weapons and upgrades. The military high school setting is unique, and all characters we meet have this typical larger-than-life anime stereotypes, from the gun nut to the sexy teacher to the top of the class rival. And EX Troopers manages to make them all likable. On the other hand, the gameplay is simple but fun. You'll spend most of your time running through linear levels and blasting space bugs and other goons. Some boss fights can be a bit challenging, but the game overall was extremely easy. And as you can see on the screen, the art style and graphics are still looking amazing. This is PS3 era gaming at its finest. The bright cel-shaded graphics and the comic framing of the cutscenes are a creative way to tell the story. And better yet, the game looks as good in battle with its constant explosions. It's just a blast to play. Overall, EX Troopers is a fun and cheesy third-person shooter game. If you're looking for a game that doesn't take itself too seriously, this is worth checking out. Another game that got definitely overlooked is Fading Afternoon. Fading Afternoon is an amazing 2D beat-em-up brawler that really hit me by surprise. We play as the aged Yakuza Seiji, who is recently released from prison. After we meet up with our old boss, we stumble into the Yakuza Enforcer life once again. Like most 2D brawlers, the main combat loop consists of positioning, punching, kicking, and most importantly, performing catch strikes, or in other words, instant takedowns. We have a wide variety of moves and combos, and the combat overall feels very satisfying and fluid for a 2D brawler. The gunplay just adds to that. Most shots are an instant kill, and you can retrieve firearms during gang fights by performing the same catch strike mechanic we talked about. Fighting rival gangs is also our main way to progress the story and earn income. With every goon we defeat, we earn a bit of money, which is used for various activities in the world, such as hostess clubs, drinking beer, and most importantly, buying cigarettes. Which brings me to the highlight of this game, the atmosphere and story. This is one of the few games that manages to tell a compelling story with this simple pixelated art style. Combined with some lo-fi jazz songs, it creates a very unique and compelling atmosphere. Near the end of the game, the combat becomes a bit repetitive, but Fading Afternoon is a top-notch 2D fighting game with a surprisingly deep story about a man who's steadily getting too old for his line of work. I'm a huge fan of beat-em-up brawlers, and this 3-hour game was one hell of a ride. I would say it's not for everyone, but if anything that I said sounds cool to you, give it a try for sure. Next up we have Turbo Overkill. This retro 3D shooter takes us on a wild ride. Set in a cyberpunk hellscape, we play as Johnny Turbo, a cyborg assassin who is out to kill a rogue AI that possesses the entire city and its low-life inhabitants. So it's our mission to clean up the streets as a cybernetic murder machine. And over the course of the game, we do exactly that. We'll slice and dice our enemies with a variety of weapons, including chainsaw axe, shotguns, and a handy satellite strike. Combined with hoops, dashes, wall runs, and grapple hooks, we are always in control in those cyberpunk levels. In between, we get to pilot a flying car or slam the accelerator on a bike with miniguns. And we do all that while listening to a killer soundtrack that will get your blood pumping. There is a real flow to the levels as well, as they send us with our extended chainsaw lag sliding down pipes into arenas built like skater parks to create some bloody chaos. The neon-soaked cyberpunk levels are filled with secret passages, hidden goodies, and even more hazards. It's like running parkour with an extra kick. But thanks to the super smooth controls, this game is a blast to play. In conclusion, Turbo Overkill is an adrenaline-pumping, violent and over-the-top thrill ride that I highly recommend. If you ever wanted to be a cybernetic killing machine with a sense of humor as sharp as a chainsaw, this is the game for you. And short break before we talk about the next game on this list. If you're a physical game collector like me, you can now buy your games on PlayAsia and support my channel with no extra cost. So would you kindly check out my affiliate link down below. Next up we have Grandia 1. I'm not really a JRPG guy, but I recently dove headfirst into the world of Grandia, and oh boy, what a ride it has been. If you're looking for a game that has the perfect sense of adventure and friendship, then look no further. In the Grandia HD Remaster, we play as Justin, a young, overly motivated adventurer. With our childhood friend Sue, we are investigating ancient ruins and stumble upon a hologram of a woman named Liette. The hologram tells us to travel to a lost city beyond the edge of the world. And this is exactly what we do. And it kicks off our adventure. We travel to exotic locations, meet colorful characters, and encounter a ton of plot twists. But the real star of the show here is the dialogue. It's full of witty one-liners and puns, and it's so delightfully cheesy that it takes me back to the golden age of gaming. When it comes to the gameplay, Grandia 1 is a classic JRPG with a unique combat system. It's turn-based with light real-time elements. The biggest plus for me is that there are no random encounters. You'll see the enemies running around in the levels and decide if you want to fight them. On top of that, grinding was only necessary 1 or 2 times. In conclusion, this became one of my favorite JRPGs after playing. It has a fantastic combat system, a great story, fun characters, and a really awesome soundtrack. And the old school Sega Saturn graphics did age like a good wine. Grandia is a cult classic for a reason, and I'm in this cult right now. I'm really happy that it got an HD remaster. And on the final place of this list we have Grandia 2, the HD remaster. It's like the developers took everything that made the first Grandia game so great and boosted it up to 11. And the good thing about it is, it's also a sequel in name only, so you don't need to worry about playing the first game first. This time we play as Ryudo, a moody, snarky and permanently disgruntled sword for hire. One day we are hired to protect a young girl from the local church on her way to a sacred ritual. This everyday job goes horribly wrong and sets us on an epic journey which decides the fate of the world. What else? The characters are a lot more mature and grown up this time. In the OG Grandia it was all about an adventurous coming of age journey, where in Grandia 2 on the other hand, we deal with much darker themes, which my edgy 13-year-old self did quite enjoy. The combat system is still as fun as the first one, and it comes with some quality of life improvements. If you played Grandia 1, you will feel right at home. It's still about managing and timing your attacks, magic and critical strikes just right so your enemies won't have a chance to attack you. It's super fun and way more dynamic than most turn-based RPGs. Grandia 2 also shows that a decent length JRPG doesn't need grinding. New areas are introduced, explored, and then we move on. There is almost no backtracking and the game does not recycle its dungeon design. And this is definitely one of the reasons why the pacing felt so perfect for me. If you love JRPGs and are looking for a compelling story with well-written characters, good graphics and a strong soundtrack, Grandia 2 is about as good as it gets. And I'm happy that the Grandia games made their way onto modern systems.
And that's it, my dudes. These are some of my favorite games that I've played recently. Now, let me know, which game did you play recently and did absolutely enjoy? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, kick the like button, sharing is caring, and subscribe. But most importantly, have a great day and get the kick out of gaming.